Yeah.
Welcome to Just an Average Fantasy Football Podcast.
Not ready at all.
At all.
Man, I didn't even get
How
another
about
beer.
this? Well.
There it is. There
Welcome into Just an Average Fantasy Football Podcast. I kicked it off. He's still in mid conversation.
Yeah.
We ain't got the beers ready to pop. It's you know
Yeah,
what?
I don't even have beers in here. Like I have one beer that I've been drinking while we did research and all, but no beer in here.
Well, you go handle that. I'll go ahead and get us
kicked off.
set up. I'm your host. There goes your other host, Matt Baker.
That's me.
He's going to get some beer now. You can find us at avgffpod.com. It's the end of the season, so, you know, we've tapered off drastically. But for those of you who are still out there, if you haven't gone and subscribed to our podcast wherever you get one, please go do that. Check out the website. You can listen there as well. You know, find us. Let us know you're out there. We enjoy the support. We're going to talk football regardless, but it's always nice to know that we do all this and there are people who listen. Shout out to Andrew, always asking, you know, when's the next podcast coming out?
Bus listens occasionally.
Yep, Bus listens, and we're going to try to get him on for the last show, but Baker had to go out of town Sunday and didn't get back till late yesterday, so actually
I
today.
got back this morning, yeah.
Yeah. And so we couldn't do the podcast yesterday, and Bus is only free on Mondays and Thursdays. And Thursday I'm going to Miami to go on a cruise, so I will be gone. That's why this is the last one before the Super Bowl. So go Chiefs, because I don't give a shit I don't care what you say. I'll never pull for the Eagles ever. That's never a thing that I'll do.
So I'm just going off of what I've seen.
I take that back.
Football wise,
One instance I would pull for the Eagles, and that's if they were playing when they play the Cowboys. But other than that,
and then go Eagles.
Well, maybe the Saints. Okay, there's a couple
instances.
Yeah. No, we're not going to get on the Saints. There's a big. Have you seen the new drama around the Saints right now?
Around the Saints
involving the Catholic Church.
Oh well, no.
Ooh, it ain't good. I
Wait.
can tell you that.
So they're going to change their name?
No, it's not. It's not actual team. It's more so the ownership.
Yeah.
And their involvement with the Catholic Church and
so
some things that got covered up in the Catholic Church in the New Orleans area.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So nothing to do with their team name being the Saints and the Catholic Church not agreeing with that.
Maybe that's why they're. That's why they're tied to the church, but but nothing of that nature. No,
that would be kind of crazy that they're fighting. You know, you get the people that are fighting because it's called. You know, we went through the Redskins and everybody's
but the
like
Redskins is actually a derogatory term.
Yeah, no, I get that, but I mean, I don't go to church a lot. Saints might be too. That guy's a saint, and we find out hundreds of years later
is the derogatory term in church. Now.
Well, that's what they should change their team name to, the New Orleans Sinners.
Yeah, well, that sounds a lot like it now. But yes, we're not going to get on that. That's not what this show's about.
I have to look into
that's a little too messy going on over there.
Yeah.
But either way, we're going to talk a little bit about some things that went on this season that we kind of expected, you know, and some things that we did not expect.
Yeah.
That kind of caught us off guard. And we're just going to kind of free will this. And then after we get done with that, we're going to talk about some stuff we did research, and that is some Dynasty buys and sells we're going to end you with on the season. And maybe we'll talk a little bit about the Super Bowl. I do want to say one thing about the Super Bowl real quick. I see this trend out there of people apologizing, saying that they used to think that the Patriots dynasty was the most annoying and worst dynasty until this one comes along.
It's any dynasty, I think.
Yeah, it is 100%. But the worst one's the Cowboys dynasty. We can all agree on that. Their dynasty was the worst.
It's still going on though. That's why they're the worst.
They think it's still going on.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Their following is still rooting like they are a dynasty. And
but my anger, or not my anger, I'm not really mad about it. It's whatever. But my irritation with it is this. Yeah, okay, the Chiefs are annoying. They're whatever. I mean, the worst thing they got really is Butker saying some dumb shit before the season, and like Rashee Rice getting a ticket for speeding, and I think there was another player that got a DWI, which don't condone any of that stuff, but. If you think back, like the Patriots, you had Aaron Hernandez. Okay, Obviously that was terrible. You had Deflategate, you had Spygate. Now you can argue that, okay, but everybody was doing it. That's fine, but they got punished for it. They lost draft picks for stuff like that.
It became known.
It became.
It was
the
everywhere.
Chiefs are not shrouded in any of that. And then you got the Cowboys back in the day with the White House, not the White House, but what they called the White House, where they would go to hang out with hookers and snort coke all day and party their faces off. And they're out there playing coked up and all kinds of stuff and all the craziness that surrounded the Cowboys of the 90s. And you're gonna sit here and talk about how, oh my God, the Chiefs done. You just hate them because, which you're right. Any team that's great, any team they're gonna pull in. And let me tell you, I'm not a Chiefs fan, but I'm not gonna sit and I do. If they weren't playing the Eagles, I would probably pull for whoever else it was, as long as it wasn't those other teams I mentioned. But if it was like Green Bay, I would absolutely be on Green Bay. If it's Detroit, I would be riding that hard. But I'm to me the Chiefs. I want to see something that's never happened before. Number one, a three-peat. Number two, I like the Chiefs more than I like the Eagles. Frankly,
mine's only being based strictly off.
Oh yeah, no, I know. You're not a hater. You're just going off what you think as far as what team's better.
Like what you look at,
and you're right. On paper, the Eagles are a better team on both sides of the ball.
And you take it into comparison with how the Chiefs played against the Bills, even, and that's the only reason I'm looking at it.
And I think the other thing that annoys people about the Chiefs is if the Chiefs were blowing people out by 30 every week, people be like, I hate them, but they're great. Well, but it's like every game they play is a one-score game that comes down to a play that potentially could be decided by the refs. And so it seems like, but if you go and look at every one-score game in the NFL, there's always probably a call or two or five in a game by the refs that are going to make that game one or two. So, I'm sure if they were blowing everybody out by, 21 points, then people would just be like, well, you can't really say the refs had anything to do with that.
Yeah, exactly.
But when they play all these close games, and then it just becomes like this. It's kind of like how everybody started hating Nickelback. Nobody can really say why. Like, why do you hate Nickelback?
Or Guy
and they became the butt of all the jokes. Or Guy Fieri.
That's the whole.
And nobody can really point it out. But it just becomes that they're so mainstream that it becomes the popular thing to hate them.
It's because it's all in your face. So when they won the first time, and you pick apart, a little bit of a game, you get some fan base behind it, and people jump ship. As with every year, when you get a team that they kind of move and migrate towards other teams, and then all of a sudden it's all you hear about and all you see about, and then the next year they do the same thing, but they do it differently. Because like the Chiefs, to me, the reason that I think that they might be better than most of what the Patriots dealt with is they win differently every year. Like one year, their defense is what won them. This year, the defense is what's carrying them.
Sign of a great coaching staff and a great organization.
Exactly.
That it doesn't matter. If they got to go out there and beat you, if they got to go out there and go in a shootout with you, they can go in a shootout.
Yep.
If they got to beat you 17-10, they can beat you 17-10.
And that's
if they got to run the ball and beat you, then they'll run the ball 40 times and beat you. If they got to pass the ball and beat you, they'll pass the ball and beat you. If they got to beat you with their tight end, they'll beat you with their tight end. If they got to beat you with their wideouts, they'll beat you with their wideouts. Or
their backup tight end.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
It's one of those where it's like
an old running back that was off the street who used to play for them that they got rid of, who was old and busted, who they had to come back.
RB1. You know. I mean,
and is now still their RB1.
Yeah,
so, that's true.
That's where a lot of it gets. I think a lot of it gets is like, how do we beat these people? It's
the other side. I think
the rage of it.
For those,
like, what do we do? How do we beat them? But,
for those weak ass bitches out there who can't stand to see Taylor on TV for 5 seconds, and they cry. And I think the Taylor Swift effect.
Publicity,
oh my God, I can't believe they're showing Taylor again. This is crap. They're a bunch of Swifties. It's like, that's a terrible thing to have
it's
involvement by more fans, because hey, doofus, the more people who like your favorite sport, the more prosperous your favorite sport becomes, and the more your favorite sport will grow.
Well, the other thing I wish is that if they're gonna like bring in celebrities to this degree, like Taylor this year, every year there's somebody.
They didn't bring her in.
I mean, like if they're gonna highlight it this much, like publicly, like they did with Kevin Hart 2 years ago with the Eagles.
Yeah, but that was just during their Super Bowl run. Yeah,
but I mean, it was like most of the season. I mean, this year was Eminem too. Like they should at least bring the price down for us to watch the games a little bit.
Well, that's a whole different story. That should have nothing to do The ticket prices by and large are too high. Well, agreed.
The tickets are fine. I don't plan on going to games. I'm talking about like being able to watch it at home and not have to spend $350 a year just to watch most of the games. You know.
Oh, well, that's
when
never
you break it all
down.
down. Well, no, I know
it's
that,
only going to get worse from here, and that has nothing to do with the celebrities.
It should just. Well, I'm just saying the publicity builds. There's more people get involved, more money gets involved,
which means they're only going to make it harder.
I know. I know it sucks, but I'm just saying
the only way that gets fixed is if everybody look. Ultimately, the people have the power.
Yeah,
if we all say, you know what, we're not buying the NFL package. Yeah, we're not buying the streaming. We want it back on regular TV. And until you put it back on regular TV, we won't watch it anywhere else. Yeah. But that'll never happen.
No, it won't because we'll say it, and then we'll be at home paying for it ourselves.
Yeah, behind me and telling everybody we did.
Yeah, I ain't paying for that shit. It's just like when they went on.
Like all the people like, I ain't never watching football again. Yeah, and then they sit in their freaking basement and secretly watch football.
Exactly. That's what all went on with the Colin Kaepernick thing.
Oh,
originally.
yeah,
it's like I couldn't tell you how many people were like, "Hey, I'm never watching the NFL again." And then I go over to the house, I'm like, "The hell you got on the TV right here?" Oh, is that on? Oh man, that was. I was watching the news earlier.
Through it, it was on something else that came on. I wasn't even paying attention.
I was watching the news earlier.
I fell asleep. That came on.
Man, I thought it was gay porn. My bad. No, it's crazy to me. The talk.
I mean, football kind of. No, I mean.
Tight end, yeah, I get it. I see where you're going here.
I mean, have you ever seen a quarterback get under center?
Yes.
But yeah, so anyway, a couple things this year. One thing that I'll bring up that really surprised me, and it wasn't that I didn't think he was going to be good. I just didn't think he was going to be good this quick, and that's Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
I thought he would be more of a raw prospect coming out of college. He only had one good year at college. Before that, before he transferred, he was a high prospect, but he was very rough, as far or raw, I should say, as a player, as a quarterback. And then he just lit it up. And you saw what he did last year in college. Last year in the NFL, but before that in college, when he won the Heisman, won a national championship. And then he comes out and he threw for a ton of yards in college. He ran for a ton of yards. So he definitely had the skill set, but I just didn't think it was going to manifest immediately even with Washington. I guess Washington as a whole, really.
Yeah, that's the whole team.
Yeah, because Dan Campbell, I didn't expect him to come back. He was bringing in freaking I don't know why I can't ever Kingsbury at OC, who was maligned as a head coach and was just out there. And, they were bringing in old busted Zach Ertz, and Terry McLaurin was like your just average wide receiver, 24.
Yeah.
Their backfield was like Brian Robinson,
and then
old Austin Eckler. Yeah. And they didn't have another wide receiver too, and their defense was meh. Like 2 years, like the year before last, their defense was garbage.
Yeah, and you look at the names they got on there, you think it would be so much better than. And this year it kind of came together.
Well, I think that speaks a lot to what Dan Campbell can do with the defense. You saw what happened to Cowboys defense after he left, but it took them so long to get things figured out,
get it all straightened
out.
But
but I think Jaden Daniels also was a huge catalyst for this offense, and I think that Dan Campbell and Cliff Kingsbury did a remarkable job of designing an offense for him that suited him, and then they allowed him to play ball.
Yeah.
They didn't try to shove him into, mold him or twist him into a quarterback that he wasn't.
Yeah.
They allowed him to go out there, have fun, do his thing, chuck the ball downfield, just absolutely dominate. Some of the wins, the Hail Mary, just these bombs that went through, him running the ball, and then of course the health. He was able to stay healthy most of the year and things like that. So for me, it was a huge surprise. And you got to think about this too. Washington just got a new ownership group. They went through all the crap they went through with Dan Snyder. So the whole organization was kind of like they were in flux. You didn't really know what to expect or anything like that. And I think it was just for them, for their organization, it was really a surprise all around from top to bottom.
It really was. As far as they made it, even getting into the playoffs, first of all, was shocking, and then to win, and to go to advance,
and to beat Detroit.
Yeah, exactly. This whole upset that we saw out of a team that we didn't even really feel was going to make it to the playoffs.
Right.
I mean, so
for a while, and then even we were like, well, they'll probably get there, but they'll get knocked down the first round. You know,
go comparing to what we thought in the beginning of the season as compared to what we saw middle season as compared to where we are at the end.
Yeah, because there was a little bit of a lull right before the end of the season, and then right at the end they started picking back up offensively.
It super peaked. Like there were some games where it was super fun to watch because he was all over the place.
Yeah, that's the other side.
You could see his face and see the progression. Like you could watch it play out. It's so awesome when you get these quarterbacks that come in and
things click.
And everything just seems to work out. Like he sees things that aren't even there. Like, holy shit, how do you know Terry was going to be 3 yards out?
Right.
Away from the defender on that throw.
I wonder how much of it has to do with the VR training that he does, because he does that VR training at 1.75 speed. Yeah. So it's almost 2 times the speed that he does it in his head. So when he gets out there, it's gotta be super slow.
Slowed down, exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, I just was pleasantly surprised with that. Glad that I picked up, because and I guess real quick before we move on to the other side of things that I did expect to happen is I didn't expect Caleb Williams to be good his rookie year. I don't necessarily think he's ever going to be an elite quarterback. I think he'll be fine. Maybe with Ben Johnson going there now as the coach from Detroit in that offense, he can teach Caleb to stay in the pocket, stay on schedule, and quit, holding the ball and quit, not letting the play develop, and getting happy feet and play within the offense. Hopefully he can get him to that. I think Caleb's very smart. I think he's super athletic. I think he's got all the tools.
Yeah.
I just wonder if it's going to click for him like it did obviously for Jayden Daniels. And I think I obviously got to get him an offensive line.
Yeah. Or how much of it was him and how much of it was the Bears as a whole.
Right.
What we saw with Justin Fields his last year with
and
him.
Eberflus and all that.
And all that, running around trying to figure out what to do if they don't see who's open.
Right.
If he's getting proper training, he's got proper protection.
Right.
I mean, that's why I was leaning against Caleb on a lot of it. Not necessarily based on his talent and all that stuff, but it was more where he was going. We didn't know really.
Well, I think everybody thought they were going to be good because of the way they ended last season.
Yeah,
but I never trusted Eberflus. Yeah, and I'm with you. I never trusted him either way. But the talent around him, you had DJ Moore on one side of the ball. They went and got Odunze.
Keenan Allen.
You had Keenan Allen.
Cole Kmet splashed here and there.
Right. And so you thought with that, obviously neither one of us thought much about the running back. Swift we never thought was going to be great or anything. But the defense 2 years ago was really good.
Yep.
And they were okay this year. And they flashed at the beginning of the season. They flashed a little bit, but it just progressively got worse and worse and worse and worse.
Oh, no, and that's that. So I didn't really see the Bears really going anywhere with it. I figured it's going to take a couple years for them to figure the organization out before he's really going to have a chance to show up and shine, Well,
like I said, he's got a new head coach now who's that offensive mind from Detroit, and we hope that he can come in and develop an offense that he will try to develop one, obviously, that Caleb Williams can fit into. I mean, Jared Goff is a good quarterback, but he is not anywhere in the realm as physically gifted as Caleb Williams is. And so if I don't know what Ben Johnson can do with a guy who can play like Caleb Williams can.
Who has mobility. Goff doesn't really have any mobility.
Zero mobility.
And I mean, without time, Goff isn't the amazing quarterback at all.
You saw that in the playoff game.
Yeah. So I mean, you take away that aspect. If they can give, if they give Caleb half that time, I think that's going to make him a better quarterback. This year, I mean, he's not on my list, but Caleb Williams might be a buy to look at in Dynasty.
I think
in years upcoming.
Well, I don't know if he plays good next year. He won't be. I think if the window is now.
Yeah, if you can shoot a shot now and
it's
potentially
still going to cost
cheap. Yeah,
so you got
went in the first round,
right? It's probably still going to cost you 2 firsts minimum to get him in the Superflex. But if you believe Ben Johnson can make him a great quarterback, this is when you shoot your shot.
Or if you've already got a quarterback that you can kind of ride with in just a few picks that you want to kind of move, like if you've got somebody that's on its way out, if you got like Jared Goff, this year or for next year, you can ride him next year and shoot a shot at getting him.
Are you talking about trying to trade Goff?
No. If you've already got if you don't have to rely on Caleb for next year, typically if you're giving up 2 firsts to get a quarterback,
I think you can ride as a QB2. Obviously not as your QB1.
No, not as
but
your
I think
QB1,
if you're riding with Jared Goff as your QB1, you're already in trouble.
You probably already got to figure something out. Yeah, but
no, I think you're right. If you want to take a shot, or if you're in a rebuild and if you got a plethora of firsts, maybe you can send like a 105 and a 107 to get Caleb Williams from somebody who that maybe they don't have any draft picks. I don't know.
It would depend on your league. I mean,
100%.
Where you sit and where everybody else sits.
And obviously, in a single quarterback, you're not going to spend that much. It would be a whole lot easier to get him in a single quarterback league. But
if he goes out and does trash in the first few weeks, you could probably pick him up off waivers.
Yeah, I just
maybe not, but
Well, not off waivers, but I do think not in Dynasty. But the real thing is kind of one of those things where if you say, well, I'm going to wait and see how good he is. Well, if he comes out the first 2 weeks and he dominates, you're not getting him.
You'll never get him.
Yeah,
that's what this has
what I say.
to
Your
be.
window is right now.
Yeah.
But the biggest problem is too, and that's why I don't have a lot of quarterbacks as buys, is because there's not a lot of quarterbacks coming out in this draft.
Yeah.
So for people to deal any starting quarterback right now,
it's super risky.
Yeah, and so it's like I've got the 101 and the 102 in a Superflex Dynasty, and I'm just like, unless I start hearing a lot of good news, like Cam Ward right now seems to be the front runner, but and it's going to also matter about where they go and what kind of team they go to,
location,
right?
Yeah.
But I have no quarterbacks on that team. I could get the top 2 quarterbacks in that draft, but that team's in such a rebuild. I'm definitely not going to draft. I'm probably not going to draft a running back, or I'm not going to draft Genty. So
probably need to trade back.
I'll probably trade the 101. I've been thinking about trying to move the 101, but it's one of those that draft pick's only going to get more valuable the closer we get.
Draft,
and so I am in no hurry.
Where some of these people end up, I mean,
or where the talk is, and after the combine and stuff like that. So
that's why it's hard for me in the offseason to trade a lot of my first round. I don't mind moving seconds and thirds because they're hit or miss, but your first round picks are tough for me in the offseason until I know where people are ending up, because that makes such a big difference.
The only thing is that you got a few days because the draft will start on a Thursday, and most of the leagues I'm in, the rookie draft starts Monday.
Yeah, it's like
after Thursday, it's like, all right, I know where these people are. Now I could either decide, am I keeping these picks or am I moving these picks?
Am I going to move them? Yeah.
Well, talk to me about something either that happened that you totally expected, or something that went down that you really didn't expect.
In a similar line to what you brought up with Washington, the Broncos shocked the shit out of me this year. Bo Nix coming out. Not that I didn't think he was talented or anything, but that organization as a whole last year just looked like floundering dog shit. And all of a sudden,
I'm pretty sure I saw floundering dog shit at Bonnaroo.
I was the lead singer for floundering dog shit. But I mean, like they weren't a team that I saw signing a rookie quarterback and then making it to playoffs.
Floundering dog shit is funny to me.
But it just wasn't. It wasn't a team that I saw. Because really the only thing they really did was change a quarterback.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they're a playoff team and they look collectively better. Defense,
and they still don't have a run game, and they were still that successful.
They have no run game at all. Yeah. So I mean, that was super shocking to me. I think we had them finishing with like 4 or 5 wins or something, and they ended up making playoffs too. This is just
Bo Nix is him.
That's what I'm saying. He is a big difference for whatever they did and however they worked it out. It made a big. The Broncos collectively, even on paper, are like floundering dog shit still this year.
Yeah, I think their defense has been fairly solid the last few years. So that was always something, at times they weren't, but I'm just saying as a whole, it's hard to judge a defense when the offense is atrocious.
Yeah,
because they're on the field all the fucking time.
Yeah.
And it's funny, you'll see some of these teams like Washington and even now Denver, where their defense will make such a huge turnaround in an instant, because now they got an offense that can sustain drives and can put pressure on the other team's offense.
Keep the ball for a little while, and then instead of turning it over in 2 minutes, they got an 8-minute drive down the field and lets defense set off and kind of catch their breath.
Yeah.
No, but that was definitely a shock for me. I mean, even more, like, if you were to tell me, like, at the beginning of the season, one of these two teams are going to make playoffs, I probably would have guessed Washington way before I guessed Denver.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's why it was more shocking to me. And because, like, I don't know, like, Washington collectively on paper looked like a better offense to me. Like, if you were to...
I would agree with that. Like, all around.
All the way around.
Yes.
So they had a better shot. But Broncos, to me, there was no way. And for them to make it, that's something to be said for Bo Nix.
Absolutely. I mean, especially in that division, too.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you figured in that division, the Chargers are on the up and come. Obviously, the Chiefs are dominating. And what we saw from the Raiders, in 2023 at the end of the season, we would think maybe they were going to come out I'm not saying that I never thought the Raiders would make the playoffs, but I thought that they would be an 8-9, 7-10
push
team
the envelope a little bit,
and push a little harder. And I figured Denver was going to be the doo-doo of that division, and they were not.
They were not, and it was super shocking to me to see that. That was one of my biggest, like, oh wow, holy shit, really. And my other biggest oh wow was, and actually I didn't realize it until the end of the season, coming back off that other injury on Washington, but Eckler still got a little juice in him.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly thought he was burned up. He was going to be a backup. He wasn't going to hardly see the field. And given the time he was out there, and when he was out there, he did pretty good.
Yeah, I think at the beginning of the season, before he got hurt, he was actually doing pretty good. He wasn't like lighting it up, but you're like, okay, he's got some juice left.
Yeah, he's still there.
Yeah, and so I don't know. He may not be completely dead, but he's definitely not somebody. He's a flex play now for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
And barring obviously an injury. On the other side of I don't know, shocking's the word, but definitely didn't expect was for the 49ers to blow absolute goat nuts.
That was they dealt with a lot of
injury, yeah,
and
definitely,
like
and bad play. Yep. Debo played like regurgitated cat asshole.
That's I mean, Ayuk going out, McCaffrey never coming in,
and even when Ayuk played, he played like refried ass meat. So.
Yeah, and that was a lot of that. I don't know, the before season talk shit, and then out there he's getting all these targets and not doing anything with it, and then he got
where he held out and all that shit. So the team was always. It was just a whole lot of shit around it from before the season even started.
Yeah,
and so it was just did not expect that. It's going to be interesting to see how they bounce back. What they do with Debo, I don't expect them to re-sign unless he gives them a crazy deal. But I don't think they're going to do that. They may have to,
or they're not going to have any. But depending on if Ayuk comes back.
I got a buy in here. We got a buy in there. I think Juwan Jennings is somebody you can look at. Is if he gets to start the season as the number 2. And he's out there, and as much as Purdy loves him, I think if Ayuk's healthy and practices and is there for the entire preseason, I think that duo could be pretty good. Of course, you got Ricky Pearsall that's going to be coming up. So, I think their wide receivers will be fine. Kittle's coming back, I'm sure. If McCaffrey can get healthy, their defense, is still, again, and I think we saw that with them. Their defense in 2023 was dominant. But their offense was already also good.
Yeah.
Last year, their offense was garbage, and their defense was garbage.
Yeah,
and so and there wasn't a whole lot that had changed in their defense, except what was it? One guy who basically quit in the middle of a game because he didn't get the start.
Oh yeah,
who was that? Linebacker? I can't remember his name.
No,
he had been the starter, and then. Was it Warner Greenlaw? Greenlaw come back, and when they started, as soon as Greenlaw came off of the IR, they started him, and the other linebacker was Pouty McPoutface about it. So then he was benched, and then Greenlaw got hurt in the game, and they told him to go in, and he refused to go in.
Nope, I'm not going in.
Oh man, I just remember that.
He'd have been on a different team if I coached that team.
Yeah, he'd have sure been on the bus. Actually, and not the team bus.
No.
Yeah. And I think one other thing I'll say that was a bit surprising to me was Saquon Barkley and what he was able to do. And not because I didn't think he could do it. Saquon is a very good back. So it wasn't shocking. But I just didn't think that offense was really predicated on allowing a running back to be as dominant as Barkley was. I figured with the tush push, with Jalen Hurts' ability to run the ball and snipe touchdowns from running backs, I just figured Saquon would come in. He'd be good, 1,500 yards, 6 touchdowns, be good in the receiving game, be a great fantasy asset. I did not expect him to be a record-breaking dominant force out there. And it was good to see. As much as I do not like the Eagles, I was good to see that Saquon got the last laugh when it comes to how the Giants treated him.
Yeah, he definitely came out there and annihilated everything about football, apparently. I'm not going to say I expected it to be as big as it was, but I did expect it. The Eagles have a hell of an O-line, and you give somebody that talented a little bit of a hole, no wonder he took 6 of them to the house from 65 yards.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like, it's the same thing I felt with Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry going to the Ravens, they have a good O-line, and while they run a lot, but he's just different. And I mean, he's
definitely different.
He's the same concept. He went to a team that's full fitting for a running back of his style. and he dominated. I mean, you kind of had to see it coming.
I think it was for me. It was more the touchdowns, but I guess that's why Saquon had to run them from so far out because he knew inside the 5 he wasn't going to get it.
If he fell short of that line, he had to have those touchdowns. How many did he finish with? Let's see what he finished with.
I have no idea.
He finished with 13 touchdowns. But Derrick Henry finished with 16 touchdowns.
Yeah, Derrick Henry was also surprising. Lamar, I thought, would run the ball, but I don't know what Lamar ran for this year, but it was definitely down from his career average.
Yeah,
and that's because he didn't have to. And I think it was also down for Jalen's career average to run the ball as well.
Yeah. Here's something that was a little shocking to me. Given in a backfield where both backs were pretty much dominant, for Jahmyr Gibbs to finish with 20 touchdowns on the season was kind of
crazy,
insane.
And here's the most insane thing: before Montgomery went down, they were both averaging a touchdown a game.
That's what I'm saying.
So they both could have potentially finished around the same, which would have been
mind blowing.
Yeah, because he had over 20, and I think Montgomery had like 12 or 13 still.
Yeah, it's when you're coming into the season and you know that you have two backs that are going to split the ball, and for both of them to finish, both running backs, we've seen wide receivers, two of them finish in the top 5 or top 7, somewhere in that range. I think Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown the first year together, they both finished as like 1 and 5 or something.
Yeah,
but
you're talking about fantasy finish.
Like fantasy-wise, but to have two running backs on the same team finish in the top 5, I mean, would have been, I mean, Montgomery
would have been insane.
Montgomery would have been right there with him.
To have two running backs on the same team finishing top 10 is crazy.
They practically did. Even with Montgomery going down, he still finished like 11, I think.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was super shocking to me to have, Jahmyr Gibbs. I knew it was good, but I was thinking, 10 touchdowns on the year.
Yeah.
He'd probably have like 1,300 yards, blah, blah, blah. But, man, went up there just.
I'm worried a little bit about what the team's going to be now that Ben Johnson's gone, but hopefully, it'll still be.
Hopefully, they have enough momentum and enough going on there and within the organization that they can kind of keep
it's
something rolling.
It's about the play calling. I mean, I'm sure they'll run the same on offense. We just don't know how this new offense coordinator is going to call the games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the talent's definitely there. So
yeah, exactly.
All right. So from that, let's roll into some dynasty buys and sells. We did not talk to each other before this. So I'm going to let you go first because I've got more than you. If your guys are on my list, I can just scratch them off. So go ahead and go ahead and run through your top 5, and we'll just talk them out one at a time.
And you want buys or sells?
Whichever you feel like kicking off. You can alternate. You can go, here's a buy, here's a sell. You can take one.
So I'll start with my first sell, and this is predicated on everybody knows his talent, and I just kind of think that it's fading. His talent isn't fading, but the team is fading away to where they're not going to be able to support. But DK Metcalf,
I got him as well.
DK Metcalf, I love him as a player. I love everything he does. This year was a down year, but we've seen it in the past where it's been DK and Tyler, and they both kind of finished in the top, and the team's been able to support it. But this year, there was no Tyler, and we still saw a little DK, but it was like JSN. It was JSN all day.
JSN's about to be their Justin Jefferson.
It's about to be the game. And you're, while DK's probably still going to have some value, I think right now enough people have the DK mindset. Like, he's the man. If he doesn't play or if he does, he's going to get the points. You can get a good value out of him where you don't feel bad about trading him right now, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think you can get a first for him. I think, if you have DK or you want DK, I think you need to reevaluate how you view him because I have to. I always view DK as a top 10 wide receiver. And I think now you got to view him as a high-end wide receiver too. I don't know that he's
with potential to be a top 10 wide receiver.
You got a lot of things like JSN's emergence. JSN fits more into Geno's style of play. Geno is not a down the field, throw 60-yard bomb type quarterback. He's not Jaden Daniels in that respect. He likes to throw on time over the middle. He likes to throw slants and things like that. He likes to get the ball out quick. Well, DK, that's not his style. DK is a 50-50 guy. I'm just going to muscle you. I'm going to be bigger, faster, stronger. But unless they change how they get the ball to Debo, they're going to continue to do it the way that they do
DK.
it. Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, DK.
Don't ever insult him like that.
Sorry,
I hope he doesn't listen to this. I really do.
Me too. But how they get the ball to DK, and that was what like when I put him on the list too. My thinking was exactly what you're saying is that if I can find somebody who still views him as that top
who
10
still
receiver.
knows DK, as DK,
and they still feel like he can get to that, then you need to sell.
You can
quick.
you can sell now because this is going to be your only opportunity. If you have another year like this year, you're stuck with it.
You're going to be stuck with him, or you're going to have to sell him on the cheap.
Yeah, you have to get rid of him super cheap as a throw-in. No, not throw-in, but it's going to be definitely a super cheap.
Absolutely. All right, so DK's a sell. Who else you got?
Let's go with a buy this time. I'm buying Brandon Ayuk.
I did not have him.
I'm not a.
That's actually good.
Coming off the injury, a super shitty season. He talked a lot of shit in the beginning of the season. A lot of stuff going on personally, whatever. I don't know. I think if he comes,
he was
back,
holding out for a contract.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I mean, there was all this stuff going on. I feel like dude's uber talented, and we can't take it away from him. We've seen what he can do, and right now there's going to be so many people who are either like upset and ill with him, 49er fans, or that are like, I don't think he's going to come back and be anything. I just think that's going to be the majority vote on Brandon Ayuk. And right now would be the time you could probably hit somebody with like the 2-1 or something and probably pick him up off of there.
If you can get him for the 2-1, dude.
And that's going to be a super steal to
if
me.
I can get him for, I'll say the 109 or better.
Yeah. I'd be willing to pay the 109 for him in a heartbeat.
I'd do the 9, 10, 11, 12 are obviously up.
Yeah. And I just think it's going to be a buy for me right now because if he comes back healthy and we see Ayuk in preseason actually play preseason, actually get back into it and everything,
and if they let Debo walk,
and that's definitely another one too
because that means they're going to want Ayuk to be the dude. That's who they cut the fat stacks to. They want him to be the guy. They're going to try to now. The only thing is that him and Shanahan don't get along good.
Yeah,
I don't know that Shanahan wanted to give him the contract. So, we'll have to see how that works out. But if they can get on the same page like they did 2 years ago, and if Ayuk can get out there and he can try to get back into that and gets back into his game shape, then I'm absolutely on board. I did not have him on my list, but I like that. I like that a lot.
You could. I just think there's good value to be had there.
Yeah.
I'll go right into another buy, I guess.
Okay.
Another one coming off injury that I think a lot of people have forgotten about. Maybe not forgotten about, but are going to be sleeping on. But Chris Godwin.
Yep, I had him. Actually, I didn't, but I thought about it.
Chris Godwin. I mean, everybody right now is on the McMillan train, which no doubt they should be because Godwin is getting older. He's not. I think he's going to be 28 next year. So he's not like the oldest, but he's a super talented wide receiver. We've seen him when he was in the game last year before his injury. It was 8-9 targets a game. And this is a guy he's going to get tons of targets. He's going to get utilized. He's going to get used. If he comes back healthy, right now it's going to be a steal. I think a lot of people have not forgotten about him, but forgotten about what he was and all. I mean, you go look at his numbers healthy when he's on the field and he's out there playing. And Micah Evans is definitely going to be there next season. The 2-year deal he signed this last year, he's going to be there putting up record numbers as well. So
right.
I just feel like right now Godwin's a good one to be looking at for a potential high-end 2 wide receiver. You can probably get on the low, get pretty cheap.
Now, I don't know what his contract situation is, but I feel like he's due a contract or he's in the last year. I'd have to look into it. But I do know that before he got hurt, he was a top 10 wide receiver.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He was monstering out there.
Yeah. And so if you can get him on the cheap, he's definitely a dart throw, especially if you're a competing team and you need wide receiver depth. I wouldn't sell the farm for him, obviously.
Yeah. No. I'm just thinking that this would be if you're just trying to play around out there and see.
I'd spend a mid to late 2 for him in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely. 3-year. When did he sign his 3-year deal?
I think it was 2 years ago, so he may be in the last year.
2020. So his extension was in 2024.
Oh, okay.
So him and Evans both signed in 2024.
Yeah.
Evans signed a 2-year deal. He signed a 4-year or 3-year deal.
All right. So I don't know if if there are any voidable years in it, but
I think if that's the one I'm reading here. So 2025 cap hit is $18 million.
That's dead cap or regular?
It just says cap hit.
Okay, so that's a regular cap. Does it have his dead?
Cash career earnings. No,
right,
doesn't say dead cap on here.
Yeah, they changed their format. Is that?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Yeah, track whatever.
Yeah, I don't know why they took it away. Where they used to show dead cap, and it was a lot easier to.
Yeah, it doesn't say because I mean, so he's got 26 and 27 avoidable years.
Okay, so that means that his dead cap, his 2025 dead cap is 18
million. So he'll play next year for the Bucks. But I mean, even if it goes somewhere else, I mean, I still think he's talented enough where if you can get this guy cheap enough now, it'll pay off.
Yeah,
it'll pay off.
The only thing that is concerning again, and it was the same thing for last year, is the fact that their offensive coordinator is gone again. He went to coach the Jaguars with that cringy Duval. It's the worst. Not Leonard Cohen. That's his face when he does it.
Oh, it's the worst.
Leonard Cohen is the singer who sang Hallelujah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I think it's Leon Cohen, something like that. That's start with L. But anyway, Liam Cohen. There it is. Boom, found it. But he's gone, so they're gonna have a new offensive coordinator. But again, they had a new one last year after they lost. What's his Dave Canales? So we'll see how that affects them. But I'm with you. I bought Chris Godwin in our home dynasty 2 years ago for like 2/3.
Yeah,
and I could not hit accept fast enough.
Oh yeah, no, that's definitely and then super cheap. Yeah,
and then in 2023 he wasn't very good, but it was fine. I only spent 2/3, and then last year it was paying off dividends.
Oh yeah,
I got hurt.
Week 1 through 6. I mean, you're getting wide receiver 1 numbers out of this guy. First round, like a first round pick would have been, but
so if I'm desperate for wide receiver depth, I'd be willing to spend a 2.5, 2.6, somewhere around there. I'd try like a late second or early third, maybe throw in something like a Roman Wilson to try to make the deal.
It might have a little youth.
I just traded Roman Wilson in a third to get which I don't like Calvin Ridley, but he offered me this, and I drafted a lot of Roman Wilson last year. He was hurt all season. I kind of lost it. So I'm probably going to get burnt on this because I don't really know what Roman Wilson is. But there was a time where he wasn't hurt and he still couldn't get on the fucking field. And he was wasn't even dressing for games.
Yeah, he wasn't even.
And so I don't have a lot of faith with Roman Wilson, but the guy sent me the offer and I'm like, you know what? My team is competing. I needed wide receiver depth. Whatever, let's take a shot. Roman Wilson in a third for Calvin Ridley. And who knows who his quarterback's going to be next year. So
Ridley flashed a little bit last year, especially towards the end of it with 6,000 targets from either one of the quarterbacks.
He's definitely going to need a lot of targets. All right, who else you got?
Let's go with another sell right now. I'm selling Joe Mixon.
Okay.
I think, he had a super, super, super great year this last year. Until the end of it, when everybody figured out that offense and slowed it down. I mean, they slowed the entire offense down, not just Mixon. I mean,
that's why that offensive coordinator got canned.
So yeah, they shut down, didn't shut down, but they slowed Nico down. They slowed CJ Stroud down. They literally slowed that whole offense down. And I don't know that.
Well, I don't know that the passing game was ever fast.
Yeah. This year was definitely not great.
That was also something that we got right going into the season. Was that I didn't think he was going to be this bad, but he's definitely not the QB5 like he was being drafted in redraft.
And I feel like right now everybody's on this high that Mixon is the dude and going to be like the dude, and he's going to be.
Sell.
And you can get value
if
out
you
of
get
right
a mid to late first for him. Get rid of him.
Get rid of it. Because you're going to be mad when it's week 3 and he's injured.
Well, even if he's good next year, he's not going to be good the year after.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's better to get out a year early than a year late.
Exactly. And I think this is the time to get rid of him.
Right.
So. And I was on a buy last year for him.
Yeah,
so, I mean,
buy.
Exactly.
Buy. Yeah, because you can buy him cheap last year.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Nobody thought he was going to be half what he was this year. So, okay, here's another sell. Breece Hall.
Oh, wow.
I hate that offense, and it showed this year.
They got a whole different. I don't know about the quarterback, but they got a whole different coaching staff. It's going to be a whole different offense.
They need that, but the I don't know, it's tough for me.
It's the Jets, bro.
That's what I'm saying. Breece Hall is uber talented. If they come out and say, "Hey, we've decided we're going to let Breece Hall walk and go to whatever team he wants to," which is just unheard of, and it's not going to happen. But if something like
they traded him,
something stupid like that happens, or he ends up going somewhere, then it's probably maybe you can look at buying him, but it's going to be so. And it's hard for me right now. Everybody's going to be looking to sell, I think, more than they're going to be looking to buy Breece Hall.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's trying to buy him on a down, even though he had a down year, because everybody knows his talent, if that makes sense. And I just think right now would be a really good time to sell, because if he does kind of sink back a little bit this next year, we could be looking at like an Etienne situation.
See, for me, I don't have him on the list, but I think he's more of a buy.
You think he's more of a buy?
Yeah, I don't know that people are going to sell him on the cheap, but if you're a team, I wouldn't trade a first for him. But if I could get him for like Tony Pollard in a second.
Yeah, that's just, I think a lot of people are they got this inflated
Tony
value.
Pollard in a third.
They got this inflated value on Brees, so is what I'm thinking. Like,
yeah,
most
you're probably right. Yeah, you're probably anybody's got him
first,
but I don't know that they might be pissed off.
Yeah, and they
if
could
you can
be
find a pissed off Brees owner. Now like again, if I can sell him for like Tony Pollard in a third or Tony Pollard in like a late second, I'll probably make that deal.
Well, we saw Braylon Allen come in and shine a little bit.
And then
here and there, and then not shine anymore.
And then Isaiah Davis shine
a little bit. So it's kind of it's one of those.
When Brees was getting 912 targets a game, he was great.
And 16 carries and whatever all it worked out to be. But
yeah.
I don't think that it's gonna. I don't think it's gonna get any better for him next year. I think this year is what we're gonna get out of him.
I think it gets a lot better for him next year. The new coaching staff that they're bringing in. You will have to see how it goes, but I really think that they're going to. It's kind of like what Denver realized when they let Russell Wilson drive the ship into the freaking harbor,
all the way
or into the side of a building.
It was actually a straight up brick wall in the middle of a Walmart parking lot.
Yeah,
he'd already drove it out of the ocean and into the wall.
Yes, and I think that the Jets are like, we gave way too much power to this freaking egotistical quarterback. And if he comes back, they're going to rein him in. He's probably going to hate it and all that. But if he wants to play another year and he comes back to them, he's going to have to play within what they want. So, we'll see about that. Again, though, I don't feel like he's going to be better enough to go and put my
buy him.
I wouldn't go all in.
Yeah.
I would go feel out the Brees owner. See what they're looking at. If I'm an absolutely desperate running back team, maybe I go early second straight up.
Yeah.
If I've got tons of first round draft picks, maybe I go late first. If I've got 2 or 3 firsts already, I don't burn my only first to get Brees though.
Yeah.
Personally,
I just thought I don't. I know he's uber talented. I've seen what he can do. We've seen it flash. It looked too uneasy for me last year for me to put a lot of faith in him. And I think there's enough people out there that have faith in him and still would be willing to buy him that you can get better for him now than you're going to get mid to late next year.
You might be right. Might be right.
That's just what I think. That's just, everybody, the personal preference.
No. I get it. I mean, if we agreed on everything, then
it would be pretty boring
as hell.
Yeah, no, definitely.
All right. So how many more you got over there?
I was looking at his numbers. Hold on 2 seconds. So 2 years ago, Brees finished as a PPR 2 running back, and he had 13 more carries than he did this last year, but he had 19 more targets. So, I mean, the only difference between it...
Touchdowns.
Not even that. He had 5 touchdowns both years rushing and 4 the year before and 3 last year. It's his per carry average. His per carry went down 0.5 and his per catch average went 0.7 down.
Right.
I mean, he had way less yardage, overall for the season, but his usage was similar. I don't know. It didn't look, and to go from 2nd to 16th, it's a big jump.
Yeah.
In that. But either way.
I don't know. It's really, it depends on your Brees owner. Really, if your Brees owner is still all in, then
it depends on what they spent on.
Right, and if you have Brees and you're still of the mindset that he's like, I got offered the other day. I didn't solicit anything, but I've got the 101 and the 102 in the league that we're both in.
Yeah,
and this dude sent me an offer of Brees Hall. And I wish I could remember. I'm not going to look it up, but it's somebody kind of like Brees Hall, a wide receiver that's kind of the same, like a younger receiver. Oh, Odunze. And Brees Hall and Roma Dunze for my 101 and my 102, and I could not deny that offer fast enough.
That's not
like
even...
I was so worried as I was denying it that I accidentally hit accept that I was scared. I thought about just ignoring it, and I was like, okay, decline. That's the one.
I wouldn't do both of those for the 101 or the 102 alone. Like
absolutely not.
That's an insane.
No, not offer. Especially this early. But the same guy that offered you something for the 103.
Yeah, he and I like the only reason I considered that
T. Higgins.
If they said definitely they were re-signing him and we were going to see T. Higgins of what we saw last year,
that would make me definitely not do it.
It's still close.
If the only way I would give the 103 for T. Higgins is if the Buffalo Bills sign T. Higgins, or
that would be pretty interesting.
Yeah,
that needs to happen.
Or the Chiefs
put that into the universe.
The Chiefs were like, we're cutting Ray Rice. Oh my God!
Wow,
Jesus Christ, Rashee Rice.
Flashback.
Yeah, we're cutting Rashee Rice and Hollywood Brown, and we're going to sign T. Higgins. But I, as the number 2 receiver, even on the Bengals, I'm not giving the 103. Maybe like the 106.
Yeah,
there's just like, because the 103 is either in a super flex. Let's mind you, maybe
it's a 2 quarterback league.
Yeah, 2 quarterbacks. So I'm definitely gonna. That's like a quarterback or I can't remember the wide receiver is the top wide receiver out of Arizona. As it looks like right now.
Yeah.
All right. So how many more you got over
there? I got 2 sells and 3 buys. You want me to just run them over?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, sell Tony Pollard.
Agreed.
Because
I just thought about trying to trade him away.
I know, but I mean, he's high right now too. I mean, he had a decent year last year. I mean, better than we all thought he would, but it's not a bad year on a shitty team, and he's going to be there next year too. So get rid of him. Sam Darnold, the only quarterback I put on any of this list. Sell him now. I thought he had a really great year this year. If you're in a superflex or if you need like a backup, Sam Darnold.
Oh, he's on my sell right here.
He had a great year, and we saw that defenses figured him out. They put the pressure on him. He can't do anything.
Yep.
I mean, he got shut out pretty quick.
And if you want to wait, you might want to wait and see if he gets re-signed or if he gets wherever. Like if he goes somewhere else, he's going to be the starter. Mm-hmm. So either way, you'll be fine. But if he ends up re-signing as opposed to going to, I don't know, the Raiders, which I guess the Raiders probably wouldn't be terrible with
Bowers and
but the coach oh my God, Pete Carroll coming in there.
Yeah, Pete Carroll.
Yeah, so it just depends where he goes, but either way, he's going to be the starter. So he's definitely a sell for me.
Yeah, I think even if he signs there, he's still a sell. I don't.
Yes,
just because.
No, he's definitely a sell no matter what.
I think he's got.
I'm just trying to think
right now, but
his value. Like if he ends up with, I'm trying to think of a team that would drastically decrease his value. That's going to be looking for a quarterback in the offseason. And so that's what I was trying.
He goes back to the Jets.
Yeah,
that's where he saw ghosts anyway.
That
right?
is true. So. Yeah, he could go back to the Jets. I don't even know though, just because it's a new regime there.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be.
The Giants. That would be fine. Dayball's a good play caller. He's
and Neighbors and freaking.
Yeah,
I mean,
so yeah, you're right. No matter where he goes, whether he stays or goes, he's definitely a sell.
I think you can get really good value out of him right now.
Yeah, I think in Superflex you can get a late first for him.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And a very needy. If you can find a quarterback desperate team.
And sell. I'm gonna put this out to the universe just to put it out there, but sell Dalton Kincaid. Yeah. I'm hoping the Bills do.
I almost put him down, but I didn't want to be a prisoner of the moment.
No, I just like it. This is me speaking from the heart.
I almost put in Mark Andrews, but again, I would try to be the prisoner of the moment. Because the other thing is that like everyone else knows that they blew it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Look.
So I don't know who's out there like, oh, maybe there's anybody that's trying to buy those guys are also thinking that they can get them on the cheap because they fucked up.
Well, and here's the situation too. We can take out the playoff games for Kincaid completely, and I still think he's a sell. Dude gets 8-9 targets and can come down with 3 and 4. I can't.
He's got brick hands.
He does. It's not.
He's got them brick hands. All right,
and then a couple buys. I'm buying Isaiah Likely.
Okay.
I don't know what's going on with Mark Andrews as far as if they're going to keep him. He's going to whatever the situation, but it doesn't matter to me. I think Likely's working more and more in this offense.
Absolutely,
he's going to be the dude. I'm also buying Tucker Kraft.
Okay. Even with Luke Musgrave's,
even with
there?
he's a year younger than Musgrave. He's shown that he has talent. And Gibbon, and I think this is still a young offense, still working a lot of stuff out. This year wasn't as good as the previous year, but it takes time. You can't just jump into it and walk away with it all. But I think Tucker Kraft is going to be part of this offense. He's going to stay part of this offense. And I think right now you can get him like super cheap.
Yeah.
And unless it's a tight end premium, but you can still get him pretty cheap, and he's going to pay off, I believe.
All right. I'll hit on mine real quick. We'll run through them. Number one, Marvin Mims. Marvin Mims, to me, is on the up and coming. They finally started utilizing him in the offense. If you go and look at his snap percentages, he was like in the high 20s, low 30s. Oh, by the way, you finished your list, right?
I had one more, but go ahead.
Okay, well, I'm sorry.
I'll throw it in the middle of this, or you might.
I might already have it.
See,
but Marvin Mims, he's a dynamic player. They utilize him, and he was super efficient when he did get the ball. And I think finally Sean Payton seeing what he's capable of towards the end of the season is going to give him a whole offseason to now understand what he has as a receiver there. And a playmaker. So I think Marvin Mims is somebody you want to buy.
Super quick too. That guy is super fast.
Hollywood Brown to me is a buy. He's going to be 28 next year. He was injured all season. Finally came in. He's still working into this offense, but I think him and Mahomes have a connection. And I think next year you'll be pleasantly surprised if you can go out and get him on the cheap. If he dominates on the Super Bowl, you're fucked. So I try to get him before the Super Bowl.
I think Juju will be gone next year too. So.
True. And we don't know what Kelsey's going to do, but he might retire as well. So therefore, Noah Gray. Yeah, Noah Gray would be a buy too. Tanner McKee. This is weird. He's a backup QB. He's not going to be a starter. He plays behind Jalen Hurts. And if you're in a super flex, especially if you have Jalen Hurts, Tanner McKee is somebody you need to look at. He played 2 games. One he started. One he only played like 38% of the snaps, but he threw 2 touchdowns in each of those games, 0 interceptions. The game that he did start was week 18. He was very efficient, was very good, works well within that offense, young quarterback. So if you're looking to take some dart throws on running back or quarterbacks that could get playing time if somebody gets hurt, Jalen Hurts is a running quarterback, and he plays with that tush push. So there's an injury that's just around the corner for him at all time. Right. It happened this year. Yeah, exactly. That's how McKee got on the field to begin with.
You want to be prepared.
And I think going next year, he will be the top number 1 starter. Another buy for me, and he's also a sell. It's weird, but it just depends on where you're at with your dynasty team. That's Terry McLaurin. I think right now, if you have him on a team that is a rebuild, he is a sell. Get rid of him right now. Get a first-round draft pick for this guy, especially if you don't have Jaden Daniels and you can find the Jaden Daniels owner and he's got a first-round pick, try to make it happen. But if you are in a team that's trying to compete next year and you are looking for top-end wide receiver depth and people who can win you weeks, Terry McLaurin is a buy. So you need to go out, especially if a team is in a rebuild who has Terry McLaurin, or if they're needing picks or you have depth somewhere else. Then Terry McLaurin to me is a buy or sell depending on where you are with your dynasty team. I think he fits the mold either way because I don't think he'll cost you a ton, but I think his price is about where you can get what you should get for him if you got to get rid of him, and you can pay what you should pay for him to be competitive, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Definitely.
Also on the buy, and this will cost you a little bit, but I think that after next year, he may be on the list of guys that you're not going to be able to get for a while. And understand that he's still only 23 years old, and that's Jameson Williams. He is super explosive, dynamic. This was his first year of breaking out. This was his first year being utilized. And if you go back to the beginning of the season, he wasn't utilized at all. It took him a couple games, and then they're like, okay. And then he started working within the offense. And, you're taking a little bit of a crapshoot because we don't know what this offense is going to be next year. I'm hoping that it stays the same, or maybe it gets better. Who knows? But either way, Jameson Williams is going to be a huge part of that. So he's somebody I'm looking to buy. On the tight end side, Jatavian Sanders from the Panthers is somebody I'm looking to buy. And I'm not the only one. I get offers for him. I have him in a lot of my dynasties, and I keep getting offers. But everybody who's offering for him, is trying to pay lowball me.
Trying to lowball
3rd round picks for him and shit like that. But if you can go out and get Jatavian Sanders for a late 3rd, early or late 2nd, early 3rd, if you're tight end needy, I think he's somebody you should really look at. Another All right, we'll run on the sells, and then I've got some quick buys, other buys I'll hit. Isaiah Pacheco is a sell. Sell. You're not going to get shit for him. Get him off your roster.
Yeah.
Just get him off your roster. I think he is burnt toast.
Well, I think he got the injury and he was visiting a guru and got happy with the earth again.
whatever it is. When Kareem Hunt's old ass is absolutely just owning you, and Kareem Hunt isn't that efficient. If you go look at the stats, it's not like Kareem Hunt's lighting up the scoreboard. Isaiah Pacheco. No, now look, there's a chance that he's still trying to get back from the injury.
Yeah, that's it.
But it's just I don't feel good about it. He was a sell to me at the beginning of the season. I love him as a player. When he's on, I love watching him play.
Yeah.
I want him to be great. He was also in redraft. He was a smash for me, but in Dynasty he was a sell for me at the beginning of the season because I was worried. I didn't think it was going to happen this year, but also I didn't expect him to get injured. But I was worried that his tenure as a top end back is going to run out.
He's going to run.
He was a late round draft pick. He wasn't a special talent in college, and so these guys generally only have so much tread on the tires before it's all gone.
Before it all goes away.
Yeah. And so, and I think his tread's wearing way thin.
He could potentially be a buy if you get him cheap enough. Like,
if you're super desperate,
if you're getting him for like a third,
or
maybe on a dart throw, like
I would, yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, if you could sit him on your bench and see what happens when he starts next year, you might be able to turn this guy.
I would get a bag of Doritos for a third because I don't really give a shit about third round draft picks.
That's what I'm saying. Like, but
if I can get him for a third, I probably would move him even for an early during the rookie draft. He's somebody I would move for a third if there's people on the board during that draft that I really like. If that makes sense.
You want to
I wouldn't do it before the draft, but I would definitely do it during the draft.
Yeah, I feel like that there's still a little bit of an open opportunity that he's just coming back off that injury, and it may turn around. It may not, but it may turn around. I mean, but we do see the Chiefs burn through running backs pretty quickly a lot of times too. I mean, CEH is nowhere to be found, and he was a first round pick 3 years ago. So.
Yeah. Well, he was never good though.
Well, he's supposed to be a good pass catching back. But, it just didn't. It didn't
pan out.
Yeah, it didn't work out.
Another sell for me is Mike Evans. Do I think he's going to suck next year? No, but I also know that he's going to be 32. Yeah. And so in Dynasty, it's better to get out too soon than too late. And so unless you are a team who's absolutely shooting for the championship next year, if you're in any kind of needing to start getting younger, this is a guy you need to move to a competitive team. Get him off your roster, send him to a competitor. If you are a real competitor, then obviously you hold on to him.
Yeah.
Another one that kind of fits that same mold, James Conner. I would be looking to get rid of him. I think he's about at the end of his rope. He's also going to be, I think, 30 or 31 next year. And he's a running back who every year he's got hurt. Even this year, towards the end, he got hurt. Now, he got you a pretty full fantasy season, but he tapered off a little bit there for a minute too. And Trey Benson's waiting in the wings, but that team's also kind of looking for someone to step up. And James Conner can't be their workhorse for the rest of the time. So
no.
Also, Brian Robinson is somebody I'll be looking to get rid of. Again, I'm looking at these running backs as people who they flash, they do good, but they're not. You look at the top end backs. You look at the Jahmyr Gibbs. You look at these. Every week they're good. They're dominant. They're lighting up the scoreboard. They rarely get shut down. But these guys, Brian Robinsons and James Connors and Pacheco's now, it's like all of a sudden they're not. They have these spurts of moments where they're just not dominant. They're not what you want them to be, and therefore, if you can find somebody who is running back desperate and you can get value for them, get them. And if you're in a rebuild, you shouldn't have any running backs worth of shit now. Your team should be running out backup running backs if you can make it happen. Because if you are, you should never have running backs till you're ready to compete.
Yeah.
And so
they only have like a 2, maybe 3 year shelf life.
Most of them
at the max, and that's stretching it. Like you don't want one in a million.
Yeah, you need to be stacking wide receivers and quarterbacks if you're in a super flex,
and a couple sneaky tight ends.
Yeah, a couple sneaky tight ends. Yeah, and then the year before you think you're ready to compete, maybe draft some running backs, and then go grab all the backups.
Yeah,
go get all the
any of them that could potentially do anything.
Yes, and then the year of that you're ready to compete, hopefully you got value in some of this other stuff. You can make a couple savvy trades, get you a couple running backs, and get into the mix. But these are guys you need to be burning off your roster if you got them. Jared Goff. Okay, here's the thing. I wanted Jared Goff to ride, but I think the Lions are about to find out the same. I think they're finding out the same thing that the Rams knew.
The Rams figured
that
out
Jared Goff's only going to get you so far.
Yeah,
and in the toughest moments when they're playing the top end teams who have the best minds. You got to think about when you play these teams in the playoffs. Not only do they generally have the best talent, they have the best coaches, and so they are scheming for 1 week at a time to get through that week, and then they go, "How do you beat Jared Goff?" And then it doesn't take a genius to realize the way you beat Jared Goff is you get in his face.
Yeah, all you got to do is put one person anywhere near him
and
that's on the other team, and it's like a bumblebee.
Yes.
It's like he's swatting a bee,
he
can't do anything. Yeah,
and he goes without pressure. He is Joe Montana. With pressure, he's Will Levis. So
I don't think he's that good.
And so
yeah, no, it's definitely it's really bad.
Yeah. So I just think that he should be coming towards the end of his deal. I don't know where he's going to go, but I think we have got the peak of fantasy Jared Goff as on a consistently good basis.
Yeah.
And so I think they'll probably ride him one more year. But he just lost his OC. We've talked about that. And, we just have to see. And then right now, this has to happen right now. It has to happen before the draft. It has to happen before all the draft talk. You have got to get rid of Aiden O'Connell. Get rid of him right now. As we sit today, Pete Carroll just got signed as a coach. The Raiders are picking so far down that they're probably not going to get one of these top-end quarterbacks.
Top quarterback.
And Aiden O'Connell is sitting as their starter. He will not. I would be willing to bet money be their starter when the season starts. You still got Gardner Minshew there. There's Sam Darnold's going to be out there. There's going to be other free agent, and there are quarterbacks in this draft that are going to be drafted late. There's going to be a third or fourth round quarterback that we don't even know right now who is going to start next year, and we're going to be like, holy crap, where'd this guy come from?
Yeah.
And so I'm just telling you, as we sit here today, get in a super flex because he's probably not rostered in a single QB dynasty. In a super flex, get whatever the fuck you can get for Aiden O'Connell right now and get him off your roster. That's just my personal opinion.
Ritter's there too, and not that that's anything to talk about, but he was a first round pick,
right?
And
Desmond Ridder was not a first round pick.
A second round. He was an early second by the Falcons.
I don't know if he. No, I thought he was a third.
Was he a third? I thought it was like the only reason they held on to him for the year that they held him or started him was because he was such an earlier pick.
He was
like an early second.
I think he was a day 2 pick, but I may be wrong. Maybe it was. I know he wasn't the first.
I may be wrong too, but I was thinking that the only reason because he's garbage.
He is absolute garbage.
I just was thinking that's the only reason they would keep him out there starting for that long. But
and then real quick, I'll just run through these other buys and for different reasons. Juwan Jennings, we talked a little bit about him for 49ers. Go get him now because once Debo's gone and and they don't sign anybody else and there's no one that you feel is going to take his job, you're not going to be able to get him for as cheap as you can get him right now. Ben Sinnott, I don't think it's going to pay off for you now, but Ertz probably only plays one more year.
Yeah.
And
he only signed a 3-year deal anyways, and he's like
right.
96
and his
97.
Third year is voidable.
Yeah, he's old too.
Yeah. AJ Barner for the Seahawks. If you're looking for tight end help and hope, he's somebody you might be able to go out and get. JJ McCarthy, and it has to be now. It has to be right now because if they let Darnold walk, then JJ McCarthy's price is going to go up.
Yep.
And so you have to try to make a deal on the mystery. George Pickens, believe it or not, he is a buy to me just because of how bad he finished the back half of that season. I think that the Steelers are going to be better. I would love for the Steelers as a team that we got Sam Darnold. But I think they're going to be better next year, even if it's with Fields, and I think George Pickens is going to be better. And then this is just really a dart throw, but Jerome Ford will only be 26 next year.
Yeah.
If you're looking for running back depth,
he's a flashy running back too. Like I don't think
he's a workhorse.
He hasn't been given as much opportunity. Like he's been given opportunity. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think even as a starter on that team, he's been given the same workload they would give like Nick Chubb or because they've been playing. Since he's been on the team.
Yeah, they'll bring him pure strong.
They're always playing from behind too. They're like they're a shitty team. But if they can get anything turned around, then he would definitely be a huge buy. And the only other buy we didn't bring up, you didn't bring him up either. And this is hinging a lot on the fact that he's going to be a free agent in this offseason. But Najee Harris for the Steelers, I think right now he's been
a buy or a sell?
A buy. Look, this guy has been a 1,000-yard rusher for all 4 years he's been in the league. He was a 1,200-yard rusher the first year he was in the league, and this is on 3.8 yards a carry. This is garbage.
That's the problem.
on a shit line, like he's given all this opportunity. His first 2 years, a lot of his fantasy viability was on pass catching.
Right.
But with the addition of Jalen Warren,
right,
then that kind of went away. The last 2 years, he's not even used in pass catching hardly at all. But I mean, if this guy ends up like he gets signed somewhere where he's utilized like he was in his first couple years, they put him as a workhorse, they use him in the pass game. He can easily. I mean, he finished his 20 this last year, RB 20, and that's what you'd be buying him at. And he can be a top 12 back.
Yeah,
he can be a top 15 back. And if you're giving him a late second, mid second, trash just to compete, especially if you're competing right now, you can buy him thinking he's going to stay where he's at,
right,
and he gets signed by somebody else, or even if he stays with the Steelers. I think that he's going to be somebody that everybody's going to be like, damn, I wish I'd have grabbed more of him in the offseason.
I guess it depends on the buying price. You're right. I mean, again, it really boils down to he's a running back. If you are a team ready to compete, maybe he's a guy, because the guys you need to go after, that's the type. Last year's James Conner.
The people
David
that
Montgomery,
they think are done, and
they think they're done, anymore, like lower tier. Because if you can get enough of those guys, you can stack them, and you can do one. And maybe if one of them pops, like this year's James Conner did for a large part of the season, or David Montgomery did until he got hurt, then they can really carry you and do good things for you. And then maybe if you're lucky enough to draft a running back like a Tyrone Tracy or a Bucky Irvin, and then they pop for you, then you're sitting pretty and you're right in the mix. And then if you can have a guy like Najee sitting on your bench or in your flex plays, then I guess you're sitting there. But again, it really boils down to the price. If Najee's on a rebuild team, you should be able to go out there and just try to talk that guy into like, here, dude, here's a two freaking 11. All right, here's my 211, my 212 from last year. Yeah, when I competed,
here's Roman Wilson.
Yeah, here's Roman Wilson and the 311.
I
would do that. I would do that. Yeah.
He'll be 20.
Here's 2/3 in a 2026 second.
Yeah. Here's a little maybe for something that I'm thinking of maybe on.
Right.
I mean, he's like literally he's never missed a game. Knock on wood. I don't want to talk nothing up, but he's never missed a game. He finished 20 and 23 the last 2 years, which is still top 24 running back. He's still RB2.
Yeah,
and he gets 260, 263, 255, 272. He's a workhorse.
Yeah.
Gets over 1,000 yards, and this is still averaging. Last year, he averaged almost 4 yards a carry.
I think he's somebody that I think because of his draft capital and because of where he was drafted in rookie drafts, people have this sour taste in the mouth. But if he would have been like, if in 2 years Tyrone Tracy is what Najee Harris is now, you're going to be happy because Tyrone Tracy was a third round rookie pick for you.
Yeah.
And so you're like, wow, this guy's, he's been, all he does is sit in my flex. I never have to worry about it, which is basically what Najee is. He gets you 10, 11, 12 points a game.
Year one,
every once in a while, he'll pop off and get you 20, and so I guess you're right in a way. If you can get him on the cheap,
you could just, and right now, I don't think a lot of people are like, I don't know, a lot of people aren't looking at contract. So professional or not professional, but people who do this have multiple teams. They're looking at all the variables. But there's so many people in
who are just casual dynasty players. They don't think about contracts.
They don't think about contracts. They don't think about potential. They don't think about what could happen if this happens or whatever. But his contract's done. Like he's going to be a free agent this year. I mean he can go many places, or they could re-sign him. We don't know what's going to happen in this offseason. But
that's the only downside. If he ends up going to somewhere where he's splitting the backfield again, but like he's not the main guy. Like if he goes to, I know this is crazy sounding, but if he goes like Philadelphia
or Buffalo, there are teams that will be bad,
right?
But I think
Atlanta,
you can get them. You can get them cheap enough right now at a dart throw. Especially it's like everybody looks at Najee and they're like, oh man, he got me like 6,
now you can
points.
Talk up the fact that he's in he ain't got a contract.
You bring that up, be like, look, this dude's going to be a free agent. He could get signed by the Eagles,
and
then we'll never see him again.
Yeah, I heard Seattle was talking about picking him up.
Exactly. But what if he gets picked up by somebody like the Raiders
or the Chiefs?
or the Chiefs even, you know, somebody that's going to use him as their back, you know, or I mean, because I think if he goes to the Raiders and they get a new quarterback,
absolutely, yeah, the Raiders would be phenomenal. I'd love that.
That's going to be going to be a huge.
Hell, if he went to the 49ers, I'd be like, sweet. That means I'll get plenty out of him after McCaffrey doesn't start.
When McCaffrey doesn't play again next year. You know, I mean, if I was to sit down and look at the teams, I think there's probably 12 teams that he could go to that would be like a solid buy. Like you would be super stoked if he went to them. And then there's of course there's always going to be teams. There's
always you're like, fuck.
You're like, God damn, I did
not want him to go to Tampa.
But exactly. But I mean, it's still that option.
Yeah, because it also, if he goes to a team like Tampa, he also kills your other guy that you liked a lot.
There goes Bucky. And Rachaad White's done.
Rachaad White is basically Tampa's Najee Harris, but worse.
Yeah, exactly. True.
Or he's Tampa's CEH, but better.
But better, yeah. But it's just food for thought. It's just one of those guys that I think a lot of people aren't looking at.
It's definitely a thought process that goes into that. So,
And then the last one, and this is super cheap. I don't think anybody, I don't know. I thought about while I was peeing in there. Tutu Atwell for the Rams.
Why?
Well, they're gonna deal Cooper Kupp, which means they already feel confident that they got somebody else there, or they're going to be drafting somebody. So it's really going to depend.
It's going to be Whittington, baby.
You think it's going to be Whittington? I don't know. Tutu, the last 3 or 4 games, actually showed up and was utilized a little more, and I felt like they were moving him more into the offense. And if they're already talking about moving Kupp, I think that this can kind of open that up for Tutu. Plus, I want Terrell, and he loved Tutu when he was drafted and was all over the fact that Tutu was going to be, on the Rams.
I think Terrell just liked to say Tutu.
I'm saying it a lot now, too, because I enjoy it as well. But I just think, it's a shot in the dark. It's a super cheap shot. Nobody's thinking about him. You could probably get him for like a 3rd or 4th.
He's probably on waivers in your league. You
could probably get him in waivers. It was just, I don't know. I'm still holding on to him because he's only like 24 years old. He's still super young. So, and he's on
I do not endorse this buy. I just want to put it out there. I am against it. But if he's on waivers, I would add him to a roster. If I can get him for a bag of Doritos and a flat Dr. Pepper, then maybe I make the deal.
If he's on waivers in any of my leagues, he's already on my team. So
yeah,
just because I pick up people like that all the time.
Him, yeah.
But I mean, it's just one of those where it's like, or if you can get him in a throw-in, like if somebody's offering you something you feel comfortable with, but it's like, hey, just give me Tutu as well and just see, because
you have to be careful when you're asking for Tutu, though.
Yeah,
true. You got to be like, make sure it's in the right context.
Yeah, it definitely has to be in the right context, and it needs to be spelled properly too.
Just say Mr. Atwell.
Yes, I saw Mr. Atwell in Bonnaroo.
No, Mr. Atwell. I'm pretty sure that was a song by
Floundering Dog Shit.
Yes. That is absolutely a song by Floundering Dog Shit. That's way better than the joke I had.
Oh God!
That was their number one hit.
That was the CD cover title. Yeah, that was Mr. Atwell.
Mr. Atwell, and their number one hit was CEH, and then Mr. Atwell was their that was the single off their second album.
Oh yeah, but it was the title of the album too, though. It was Mr. Atwell was the name of the album. But it was like song 8. It wasn't even in the top 5 of the list, but it was like song 8, but it was the title of their album,
yeah. My favorite, their first album was called Mr. Watson, Don't Massage Me. Also, speaking of floundering dog shit, good job, Justin Tucker. You ruined you might have been the second Hall of Fame kicker to ever get nominated, and you completely took a fat dump on that, you sick, disgusting piece of garbage.
Curious about how he got his legs so strong. I don't know why this is a surprise.
Yeah, he's now added to the Ben Roethlisberger, Jameis Winston, Deshaun Watson tree of horrific human being garbage cans.
That's why his leg, he got that strong leg. That's what he tell him. He got that strong leg.
Well, he needed to develop a strong hand and take care of his shit himself like a man instead of being a creeping bastard. Anyway, there it is. That's how we're going to end the season.
Like floundering dog shit.
Yeah, we were also on the album.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Just an average floundering dog shit. Anyway, we had fun this year, as we always do. We will be back at some point next year. generally around draft time is when we kick it off. But if the free agency gets crazy and there's a lot going on, we do like to give our 2 cents about that. Our 1 cent, because that's average.
Yeah.
So we may do a bonus show at some point, depending on how crazy the offseason gets.
We did 2 this last year. Coming in for the rookie season, because there was a lot. Yeah. There was a lot to talk about with the rookies and everything.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot this year. There's a ton of running backs, not a ton of quarterbacks. Not even a ton of wide receivers.
There's a couple.
A couple. But so we have to sit down and start doing our in earnest on that, and hopefully we don't sound as dumb as we normally do when we actually talk about it. Hope you guys have fun at the Super Bowl. I'm going to be somewhere in the Gulf of Mexico, because that's what it's called and will always be called.
Gulf of America, man.
Fuck that. Don't even get me started.
I'm just trying to continue the floundering dog shit, man. That's all I'm trying to do.
Speaking of floundering dog shit.
And then we're going to end the average podcast today and now. So.
Oh, God. Anyway, I'm sorry. So I will be cruising somewhere, getting away from the insanity of the world, trying to reset my mind and my soul. And then we'll be back. So have fun on the Super Bowl. I will say, if the Super Bowl, something insane happens, then maybe a week after the Super Bowl's over, we might do it. We'll come in and talk about something that everybody's already been talking about.
Yeah, like after it's already been talked about. Yeah, we'll elaborate.
But anyway, if any, as usual, if anything we ever say or do helps you get to the average place in your leagues, then we've done our job. Because as we say, when you finish average,
you don't lose.
That's right. And so we hope you guys are having fun out there. We enjoy the ones that hang with us to the end of the season. And until we meet again.
Later. And love y'all.
Holla.